Hello, BookTube. This is Friday, so it's Friday Reads. I'm coming to you a bit earlier than normal for my Friday Reads. Bear with me, I'm getting some glare on my glasses and there's dust on it. So I just need to polish them up a bit, clean off the dust. Yeah, so I thought I'd come a bit early with Friday Reads. And also a few things that came in the mail, not books, some films, something that I had ordered long ago and was waiting for the one of the of all the package items to come being released because there was a new release day. I pre-ordered it. In other words, yeah, brain's still not working that well. Anyway, this week I didn't do as well as I did last week for my reading. I think I did 7 books last week. This week I only did 4. I knew I wouldn't do as much this week because I am sort of in between reading a little bit. I'm having a little spurt when I have sort of some energy. I've got about 6 hours a day that I would say that is sort of I'm well enough to sort of do things if I strain myself at the moment, and I feel okay. I feel okay sitting down, but getting up and doing stuff is a real chore thing still at the moment. But yeah, it's because I'm sort of reorganizing my books here basically to get rid of the piles that you can see some of them here but you can't see in front of me. It's sort of like it's a mountain of books in front of me, and those have to be sort of sorted and dealt with. And the other section behind here is where I sleep, and I've got my bed, and I say bed in quotation marks because it's not actually a full bed. It's just a mattress on the floor, and there's a reason for that because I spent a lot of money for the mattress, and I didn't want to spend money at that time for a bed frame that wouldn't work or wouldn't be strong enough for me. So I held off, but I held off too long, so I might be stuck with, mattress on the floor for a while. But anyway, I got to move that around, sort of rejig things, reshelve stuff, and just sort of make room, as the Harry Harrison called it. Now, only those die-hard science fiction fans will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, 4 books. The first one that I read was the first Charlie Chan book. Look at that cover. Look at that cover. These are newly commissioned covers as well for the 6 Charlie Chan books by Earl de Biggers. And this one is The House Without a Key. It's published by Chicago. Oh, well, it's an imprint of Chicago Review Press. It's called the Academy. Chicago Academy or Academy Chicago? Academy Chicago Publishers. And they're nicely done. It's on nice paper. They're a retype set, so it's not just a facsimile photocopy basically. This one I got it cheap, and it's a bit there's some damage to page edges and a little bit, but I got it really cheap, so that was good. I've got number 2 around somewhere, which I'll be reading at some point. But yeah, like I say, beautiful covers. But again, like, what were they thinking for the spine? What were they thinking? Like, they should have just carried ghosted the cover across. I don't know. They did it on the back, but they really didn't. They just cut that out too much, and it kind of ruins it because it won't look very good on the shelf like all of them together. I'm always for, as well, like when they know that they're doing a series and their uniform is to do a panel across the spines So when they line up, there's a panel, because most people that are going to buy, and there are made to be a set, are going to probably buy them all. Or if they buy one or two, that's fine. It'll still be an interesting spine on it. But when you get them all together, then you got like a little bit of tableau, or not a tableau, but a picture across, that spans them. And that was one of the reasons for the new Tarzan ones that are done. It's a variety of things that I didn't like, but the spines were boring, and they could have, you got 20 some 25, is there 25 Tarzan books? But anyway, all together, you could do a nice action thing across all of them on the spines, and that would be just fabulous. Oh well. They're missing out. They should hire me for book designing. Anyway, after that, let's get back to Charlie Chan, the first one, The House Without a Key. And it's set in Honolulu, basically, Hawaii. It was written in 1932. And Charlie is he's just a police detective, but he's the best that there is there. And he gets sort of flack because he's Chinese. Well, say what it is. There's racist and bigotry abound regarding him. And he's aware of that, and he can cut people like right down. And I'll read one quote here. You don't really need to know the situation, but it's, anyway, I'll read it. Miss Minerva faced Chan. The person who did this must be apprehended, she said firmly. He, Charlie, Chan, looked at her sleepily. What is to be will be, he replied in a high sing-song voice. I know, that's your Confucius, she snapped, but it's a do-nothing doctrine, and I don't approve of it. A faint smile flickered over Chan's face. Do not fear, he said. The fates are busy, and man may do much to assist. I promise you there will be no do-nothing here. He came closer. Humbly asking pardon to mention it, I detect in your eyes slight flame of hostility. Quench it. If you will be so kind, friendly cooperation are essential between us. Despite his girth, he managed a deep bow. Wishing you good morning, he added, and followed Hallett, his boss, out of the door, basically. So he cut somebody down easily. He's very different from the TV, not the TV. Well, there was a TV series. I've just sort of found out. Didn't sort of really realize that until really recently. But the films, I'm not sure how many there were. There might have been like 40 or so films in total. There were a number of silent ones, but most of those, all but maybe one, is missing. And there were a number of actors who played Charlie Chan. They're fun films, but they're always somebody who's Western that's playing Chinese in Hollywood. So but they're still fun to watch. But he's a very different character than in the books. He's more can do in here, and he, like I say, he doesn't take guff from people, but he's very polite about it, and he puts people in their place. And I really, really enjoyed this. It's basically a story. It's a mystery. Rich guy in Hawaii who has his relatives are the rich and famous and powerful in Boston, but he was sort of the black sheep of the family. Dark past. His brother, who lives next door to him, basically, I think, in Honolulu, just hasn't seen him and spoke to him in like 30 years. Has a fence between the properties. But the black sheep character, he gets murdered. He gets stabbed, and so they have to find out who did it. And he has a daughter. He's got lots of money. And Chan and a sort of distant relative, I think a cousin, like a second cousin or something like that. It is that's coming from Boston to take back his aunt, who's there. She's that Miss Minerva that I mentioned, and because she's staying there too long, and they want her back. The family wants her back. She's sort of a matron, an elder. Well, they call her sort of an elderly matron, but she's only in like maybe her 50s, early 60s at the most. But yeah, and so the cousin sort of joins forces with Chan and the police force to uh, to sort of solve things. And of course, there is a young, beautiful girl involved with this that the cousin from Boston falls in love with, and he changes his whole life after seeing Honolulu and Hawaii and learning things and seeing her, because he was just sort of this stuck up, straight laced. His family said this is what you're gonna do, and he just sort of followed it without question. And now he's breaking out at the end of the book. So yeah, just fabulous, great writing, like very very atmospheric. I wasn't really expecting that so much. I was curious because, as I say, I bought a couple of them really cheap, and I thought, well, I love the covers, and I'm curious about them. I don't know if I'd want to read the whole series, um, but I do now. I do want to read the whole series, definitely. The next one is another crime, sort of mystery. It's called A Voice Like Velvet by Donald Henderson. That's the American title. The original title was The Announcer. Really, like, these are great covers too. It's a series by Harper, and it's the Detective Club, and this is by Donald Henderson. It was written 1944, and there's a short story in here as well. But yeah, they're by Harper Collins, or just Harper. What do they call it? It's the Collins Crime Club, and they're nice. You see, they even have nice little embossed gold and on the spine. They're all uniform size. I've got about 18 or so of these. I've read about 8 or 9 of them so far. And this one, I started out thinking, like, because who the guy is, like, there's no mystery of who's doing the crimes. He's a cat burglar, but he's also an announcer on the BBC. And and then it, like, the first, like, almost 100 pages is his sort of childhood and everything. I'm going, what are they doing? What are they doing? It's just like, why is this in here? It's like, but then once you get through, and then you go, oh yeah, okay. Well, it's very very good. It's maybe a little too long, because they could have described the character a little shorter, but I enjoyed it even so. But what I really liked about it is that Donald Henderson actually worked for the BBC, and you can see that's no, wrong. That's Broadcast House, and then there he is, sort of going over the balcony into a house. But yeah, he's a jewel thief with sort of a heart of gold. He doesn't steal from the poor, or if anything, finds out is sentimental, and to the people, or very meaningful. He doesn't take it, or he gives it back once he finds out. He doesn't do it for the money, because he doesn't sell any of the jewelry. And when he finds money, cash, he doesn't take it. He leaves it. The police have been baffled for years. And he sort of plays a cat and mouse for a while with the police detective. I won't spoil the ending, But what I really, really liked it was that there was a lot of detail of the BBC and Broadcasting House and what went on there, not just on the air. There's very little sort of technical stuff, but it's just this sort of what went on there. Like people, like, well, this would have been during the war, but like people slept there. They had beds. They had, everything. Canteen, everything. Showers, everything, for people that work there. And it wasn't really for, it wasn't in a shelter or anything like that for bombing. It just, you had to be on the air at a certain time, 4 a.m. or something. It's too far to come in. You stay the night. You may missed your train. You can sleep there. And I just little things like that I really thoroughly enjoyed this. And what makes it great too, these, and I don't know if they're all. I have to check, but this one and the previous one had the same introduction by a Martin Edwards, and he does a really good job in a short period of time. This is fairly long. This is 5.5 pages introduction. Usually it's about a page, 2 pages, maybe 3. And he talks about the book, but he also talks about the author, and he talks regarding the book's place in crime history, that type of thing. And I thoroughly enjoy those as well. So yeah, so that's another one, and I've had good luck with these. All of them that I've read, I've enjoyed. Now, the other ones, next one's a reread, and a reread of a science fiction classic, just because, as you know, if you've watched my last few Friday reads, I've been on a bit of a kick for a while, post-apocalyptic literature, and this is sort of one of the granddaddies of them all with Earth Abides that I did last week, is Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter M. Miller Jr. It's just a fabulous book. It was published in 1960. It's sort of a put together from sort of longer short stories. And it starts out with a monastery with monks in the middle of Utah, more or less about 600 years after a nuclear war that has devastated the earth. And they're sort of put back to the Middle Ages. And you learn a bit of history that at some point after the war, the survivors got angry at the people who did this. So it's an area they call it the simplification, which I find interesting is that they went out and just destroyed all books, and anybody who had any learning or was smart, basically, if there was any scientists left, they killed them, they burned them, they did whatever, and because they thought it was better to be stupid. And that reminds me of something. Sort of reminds me of Trumpites. Anyway, he might have been pronostic. He might have told the future a little too well. Anyway, but yeah, and then they're into different sections, and they go ahead in time, and then we get to about 1,200 years after the Holocaust, the nuclear Holocaust, and they well, actually, let's back up a bit. The Leibowitz was a scientist that survived the war, a electrical engineer, I think it was, yeah. And he sort of tried to sort of save learning and save books, and they call them bootleggers, people who would smuggle books and bring them to their monastery in Utah, and they hid them away, and they hid them away for centuries and over a millennia. And at 1,200 years, they're starting to, people are getting smarter again. They're doing their own research, so they're digging into these archives, and by at 1,200 they start seeing that things are going to get back to the old ways, and then they'll start to learn things again, like electricity. And then we jump ahead again for it seems to be an unspecified amount of time, but they're back to sort of there's cars, there's electricity, there's video phones, there's nuclear weapons again, and there's colonies on the moon and in space. They have space satellites and everything. And guess what happens? Yeah, cyclical history, sort of. History repeats itself. They blow things up again. That's where it sort of ends. But I won't tell too much. Um, but there's a lot of interesting things that's in here. It's just a fabulous book. And there's a character that sort of runs through a not a monk but a hermit, who's, they call him Lazarus, but he's somebody who was told to wait again. He's waiting for the second coming of Christ, and he's still alive. But yeah, and then it was during his lifetime. This is the only novel that Walter M. Miller wrote, but it's sort of short stories put together to make up a novel. He wrote about 40 short stories, I think it is, and posthumously there was a sequel published by this. They found the manuscript that it's been edited by, I can't remember the name now, but it's been edited by someone and finished, and it was published. And I've got that coming on order. I found a really cheap copy, a hardcover copy. Well, we'll see. It was cheap. It was only like, I think, £4 with free shipping, and it said as new. Well, we'll see. We'll see. That was on eBay, but I just thought, okay, for £4, I'm willing to take a chance, and regardless of what it is, it'll be readable, and I'd like to read it. And I've only read some other of his short stories, a few here or there. I'd like to get more of his short stories as well, but this is a fabulous book. If you've heard of it, and put it off, I would suggest, like, if you're interested in great, science fiction, and especially for post-apocalyptic science fiction. This is the 60th anniversary edition by Orbit. And what was I going to say? Yeah, well, the sequel is called Saint Leibowitz and the Wild Horse Woman. Oh, yes. I found out that NPR in the States, the National Public Radio, I think that's what it is, yeah, in 1981 did a 15-part radio series for this. It's on YouTube. I'm gonna have to take a look at it, but I don't really. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time. I don't really hold my breath for it, because I find that American radio sort of died in the '60s, and when they tried to revive it, they just sort of forgot how to do it. But anyway, and then the BBC did the first two parts of it, I think, in a 90-minute film in 1993. It said. I was not aware of any of these, so I'm curious to see it. And then last night I started and finished today is Shane by Jack Schaefer, published in 1949. It's very short. It's the basis for the film Shane, which this is going to be tomorrow. I'll be talking about this more tomorrow. So there's that's the Shane book. It's a Western, and the film with Alan Ladd, Gene Arthur, and Van Heflin. George Stevens, director. So I'll go into more detail of that tomorrow, so I'll leave that. And what I got in the post was 3 box sets that I ordered. It must have been I'm sure it was the beginning of February. From Indicator here in the UK puts out a lot of stuff, and they do really good quality items too, but they have limited editions that have booklets, and then they put out the standard edition without the booklets. It's like, "Argh." So if you miss the limited edition, you're out of luck unless you want to pay hundreds of pounds for them. But they've put out now, as of now, they've put out 3 box sets of 6 films each of Columbia Pictures film noir. And I kept humming and hawing over these things, but they had a big sort of flash sale that had the first 2 volumes, because they're normally about 50, I think. I think they were almost 50% off, plus the new one to pre-order was 30 some pounds, I think. So I thought, well, yeah, I can't pass this up, so I ordered them. But I was expecting to get the first 2 volumes, and then when the third one came out, I'd get it. But no, they just held everything back until the third one was released, and I got that this week. They're just nice box sets. They have a little belly band around them, and they're nice. They have like a 100-page booklet with them. They're limited to 6,000 copies, and they're nice sort of digipack. I call them digipack cardboard with the like movie posters on them. And volume 1 here is Escape in the Fog, The Undercover Man, Drive a Crooked Road, 5 Against the House, The Garment Jungle, and The Lineup. And to be honest, I am not that familiar with most of these. I may have seen them. I don't know how good they are for film noir, but I just thought, well, I don't know. I went a little crazy there for a while getting some stuff. So these are kind of nice. The volume 2 is very similar. It's the same way, booklet, 100-page booklet. It's got Framed, 7-Eleven Ocean Drive, The Mob, Affair in Trinidad, Tight Spot, and Murder by Contract. And they all have commentaries. Each one has commentaries, and there's other extras on the DVDs as well. And here's volume 3 that officially is being released on the 17th. Oh. Even though this is brand new, there's a scratch, it looks like, on the... Or is that... No, it's probably not a scratch. I think it's a wraparound picture, but I thought there was a scratch on the back of the thing. But I almost feel something. But anyway. So yeah, in this one there's Johnny O'Clock, The Dark Past, Convicted, Between Midnight and Dawn, The Sniper, and City of Fear. And as I say, they're all... It's all sort of done the same way with booklet commentaries, so those will be nice to watch eventually. But yeah, that's it. That's my Friday reads. As for reading next week, I'm not 100% sure yet. I still have this 4th one here, the Mayfair Mystery by Frank Richardson. I believe that's the Frank Richardson who wrote the Billy Bunter stories as well. Yeah, I believe it is. But anyway, so I've got that, and I'll read some others. I don't know what yet, and I haven't decided for the next film to read. I'll probably let you know after I do Shane tomorrow. I'm going to watch Shane tonight, and then do all the extras and the commentary tomorrow. But anyway, take care, BookTube. I hope you had a good week and have a good weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.